Welcome to the It's All Fine and Danjee podcast, where hosts Dan and Angie talk with creatives, small business owners, charities, and all kinds of interesting people. It's all real talk. It's all fine and Danjee.
Well, hey guys, Dan here, and sorry that we missed last week, but as you can imagine, we live in Asheville, North Carolina, so you can imagine we had a pretty intense week with Hurricane Helene. But we are currently, you're going to hear some background noise here, but Angie and I are currently on the road driving 85 south down to North Georgia. During this time that we were affected by the storm, we ended up staying with some friends in Conover, North Carolina. It's kind of central North Carolina. Stayed with them for about a week, and now we are heading down to stay with some family in North Georgia. But recently, in the past, I think it was 2 days ago, I put together a little video of our time trying to deal with the storm in Asheville, and I will put that as this week's episode. So there's a video version, but you can always just listen to the audio. We'll put it on all the channels. But I just wanted to make sure we took a moment to say hi, to thank all of you for your reaching out and seeing how we're doing, and we really appreciate everyone thinking of us. And I'm gonna let Angie talk for a minute. Now, she is driving, so bear with us because we got some noise, but I'm gonna hold the mic over to her.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to reiterate what Dan said. So many people have reached out and checked on us that we're so thankful for that, to know that so many people are kind of paying attention and reaching out and making sure we're okay. We've had people message us and say that they have family members that are bringing supplies to the area. What do we need? Just a lot of that kind of outreach. So we're so very appreciative of that. We're looking forward to getting back to our house. The crews there are working quickly as possible. We still have contact with one of our neighbors, or a couple of our neighbors. And power is up. I think cell phone service is shoddy, and internet, I think, has been in and out too. The water is our main concern, just because of contamination and having to boil your water just to take a bath or shower or any clean up or anything. So we really don't plan on going back until that is fixed. No word really on when that's going to happen, and we can totally understand why, because of the devastation. So we just want all those crews to be working safely and nobody else getting injured or hurt, and to be able to take care of the people that really need it the most. We were very fortunate. We feel very lucky to have people that have opened their homes to us and supported us. And I also want to give a big shout out to one of our friends in Florida, Betsy Owens. She set up a nonprofit to help with the destruction up here in Western North Carolina specifically, but of course anywhere that has had destruction from the hurricane. And that is called Floridians for WNC. And we'll put a link into the nonprofit. She has a sister, Patty, that lives up in Franklin that was affected, but maybe not as much as some of the other counties. And she's boots on the ground, so she knows what the needs are of the locals, which I love. She sees really what's going on, and she has a place where she can receive the shipments, and they are getting those out as soon as they come in. And I mean, she's taken money out of her own pocket. Patty has to buy heart medicine for a baby that was running out of her heart medicine and needs it to survive, and delivered it. And so it's really just heart touching to see people doing this, and we've seen this all over the place. I mean, this community is strong and they are taking care of each other. It is really amazing to see. And so yeah, if you're struggling with finding where to donate or where to put your funds, this is a great nonprofit to do that. Patty actually offered her Airbnb to our neighbors to stay in for free, which is amazing because they don't have water at their home yet. They were able to make other arrangements, so she's offered it to somebody else. So want to give a huge shout out to them and what they're doing. And just once again, big thanks to everybody. And we're excited it's kind of, exciting to go on a little road trip with the dogs. And we're going to go to my cousin Rodney and Jody's house in Georgia, and we're so grateful that they're opening their home to us. So thank you guys once again. We hope everybody stays safe with the current hurricane season that's still here, and especially in Florida. And thank you again so much for tuning in each week and supporting us.
Yes, and I wanted to add the same thing that, big thank you to Josh and Caroline, who let us stay with them for 5 days with our dogs among them, just moving into their new house and unpacking, and very gracious of them to let us come and kind of add to the chaos for a little while. It's times like this where, friends and family that are offering for places to stay or offering to bring supplies, and Josh did the same. He's like, we'll just drive there and bring you some gas, and it's just we're so thankful for the people around us that are been so caring and reaching out. And as Angie mentioned, the community in Western North Carolina, from what we've seen, has been just so great and trying to help each other, and rather than kind of looking out for just themselves and their family, we just saw a great sense of community. It's been really nice. So for this video that I made for our friends and family, and just kind of an easy way to sort of update everyone on what happened in our status, that's going to be our show this week. But otherwise, we will be back next week, and we'll talk to all of you soon. I guess I just want to start by saying that Angie and I's experience with the storm was nothing really, especially compared to that of so many people around us. Our hearts go out to those that lost loved ones and those that are still struggling with the aftermath of this storm. We're both from Florida, and we've been through so many hurricanes. But from the locals here to the weathermen and women, it seems like no one expected anything like this. Up here in Western North Carolina, the days leading up to the storm's impact were rainy, and we found it to be peaceful and kind of nice. The Thursday before the storm hit, I walked the back of our property, and I noticed how much rain we were already starting to get. We're told to expect another 10 to 18 inches in the next 24 to 48 hours. I suppose this was our first sign of what was to come. Our favorite tree in the backyard, maybe 60, 80 feet tall, gone. And when it fell over, it took out a section of the fence bordering the creek. So this was a massive tree. The creek itself is already a few feet higher than it normally is, and keep in mind, the real storm hadn't even hit us yet. But by Friday morning, we did notice the wind had picked up, and maybe around 8 a.m. is when we lost power. One side of our driveway had become a little bit of a creek itself, and it flowed down through our smaller backyard and then down again to the larger yard where the tree was down, and then eventually adding that stream of water to the actual creek in the back of the property. We did check that actual creek around midday that same Friday, and the water had risen by maybe 5 feet already. Now keep in mind, this creek's usually about 2 feet wide and maybe 6 inches deep.
It's the most damage we've ever had for a hurricane.
I know. Trying to make the best of not having any power. We did stay outside, and honestly, we felt thankful to have such a nice place to enjoy the outdoors. I guess, having been through so many storms before, we expected we'd just wait for the power to come back on and otherwise try to just go about our normal lives. It's funny because we decided to run up to the grocery store to pick a few things up, and again, coming from Florida, so many of the grocery stores have generators that we're used to power being out during a storm or after a storm and still being able to run right up to the store. But on our way there, the little street light in our neighborhood, it's like a four-way stop, was out, and we didn't think much of it. We took a little side road out to the highway, and on that little side road, there were major trees down, power lines hanging in the road, and I started thinking, if all the little cross streets are like this, it's probably going to take a long time to get power back. But the first thing that really made us feel like this was a different kind of storm was when we got out to the highway itself. We couldn't even make it to the grocery store at all. The road was basically a lake. Yeah, that's a car floating out there in the middle. So we turned around and we drove the opposite direction to another grocery store. Normally, this Ingalls shopping center is busy just like any other town. There's people coming and going, but today there was no one there. All the stores were without power. All the stores along the way, all the street lights along the way, some major intersections coming off the interstate, no power, nothing on anywhere that we could see. There was no one following the four-way stop rule at the lights, so it was really kind of tricky to get through the lights. But, you know, when we got there, there's no way to buy food, much less water or gas. So we turned around and headed home. On the way home, we got emergency alerts on both of our phones, and it was right along in here somewhere where we lost cellular service completely. Now we were completely cut off from any communication with the outside world, so we decided to get out of town. All right, so roads are flooded, power's out everywhere, street lights are out. When I say flooded, I mean some cars are like underwater. So we are probably going to be without power here for at least a few days. So we're going to make a run for it. So got the car packed up and we're getting ready to go. So our plan was to go from right around here where we live in Western North Carolina to Knoxville, Tennessee, or somewhere near it. And from everything that we had heard, which wasn't much, the road was still open this way. I-40 was still open this way. You know, the alert that we got on our phones told us there were some roads that were closed, but I-40 was still open in this direction. So our plan was to follow this route, and we made it about this far, and it's kind of surreal when you're on this big interstate. You know, it's a normal interstate just flying along, and you come over a hill and there's cones across the road, police cars blocking the road, and the state troopers saying you can't go any further, the road is out. And this is a major interstate. So, you know, they forced us off on the exit near Maggie Valley, and we pulled down. And, you know, Angie and I are both pretty level-headed, her definitely more so than me, but you know, this is the point where it started feeling a little scary because we got to the gas station. This is Maggie Valley. This is 4 or 5 towns away. No power, no gas. The gas station down the road from that one was out. All the lights were out. So we started to feel kind of helpless. And we had some cellular service there. So we did reach out to some family and friends and, you know, let them know we're okay and that we're trying to get out of town. But we just sat there for a bit and decided, what can we do? We're going to head back home and make the best of it until we can either get more info or get some more options. You know, in a way, we were lucky. We were safe. We still had food. We still had bottled water, and we couldn't get out of town. I'm grilling, and here you go. Happy power outage. Cheers.
Cheers.
So we just started going through our cold stuff first because it was a matter of time before all that stuff spoiled because we had no power. This will actually work
Resorting to hurricane disaster breakfast. Not so shabby.
It's a nice little grill, man. What do you mean? You can cook all kind of shit on there. And then Saturday morning we got up and we went out and searched for gas again and again. We were reminded of just how bad the situation was. We waited in line for hours at the hardware store to buy a propane grill. Not propane, of course, but the propane grill and some more basic supplies. And we're still thankful that we at least found a place that was open. And then while we're in line, someone in line showed us a video of the River Arts District, which is just a few miles away. It's basically gone. Others in line talked about people getting swept away, houses floating off with people in them, rescuers drowning, trying to save other people that were drowning. It just felt crazy and surreal and just awful. For me, I feel like at times like this, you kind of have to do your best to keep a sense of humor, to keep yourself from worrying or worse. And we joked around with people in line about stupid stuff and got them to smile or laugh and vice versa. But the overall sense of community around us was notably strong. You know, I didn't say anything about it. I felt it. Angie mentioned it to me, and it just, you could just feel it. People were doing their best to, you know, figuratively hold on to each other and try to hold on to some sense of normality. Same shirt in every photo.
I'm not doing a photo, I'm doing a video.
Here we go. You're going to get in trouble. For us, being back home felt like the safest place right now, both physically and mentally. We kind of felt like we were camping. All right, let's see if we can keep eating like this, or we may be living off chips at some point. But tonight, we're grilling salmon, some sausages, and some peas. After some trial and error, we learned how to make decent coffee without a coffee machine, which probably sounds silly, but, first world problems. Sunday, while we were in line again to buy water, we heard of a grocery store that was open. It was cash only, so we rushed to it, using more of our precious car fuel. We made it to the grocery store. Their gas station was also open, but the line was way too long to have a chance to get gas. In fact, it ran out of gas soon after we got there. But the line just standing to get food to get in was over 2 hours long. It was totally worth it, and by now we were running low on the cash that we had, other than a little bit of a reserve for fuel, but we did have enough cash to get some basics to last us a few more days. This kind of sucks, but we still live in the mountains. And then back at home, we grilled again, and just as I'm finished grilling, it's getting dark, the power came back on. This was such a good sign for us, and it helped us to stay positive and lift our spirits and just make us feel like, we're going to be coming out of this.
Look at them. Man. Hurricane life ain't so bad. Got our power back, so that's good.
Yes.
These were cooked the old-fashioned way.
We had to eat all the meat out of the deep freeze. Carnivore diet. And then Monday morning around 8 a.m., I decided to make one more drive into town for gas on the fuel that we had left in the car. My truck was pretty much out of fuel. Curfew's been in place now, keep in mind, since the storm came from 7:30 p.m. to around 7:30 a.m. But some people surely weren't following that curfew because by the time I got into town, gas lines were already 200 cars deep. No chance of getting gas. But I did notice there was a short line of cars at an ATM at a bank that appeared to have power. So I got in line. Very luckily, I was able to get plenty of cash out. Within the next 20 minutes, the line for that ATM was going around the whole bank. When I got back home, I noticed a bear had come through our backyard and tore up the fence. It was kind of a welcome distraction, actually. But now that we had power back, we decided to settle in and work on removing some of that tree that had fallen and open up the fence in the back a little more to make it easier for us to get access to the creek so we could use it for flushing water and washing water. By late afternoon Monday, we decided to ride our bikes up to Home Depot so we could save our gas. We also had learned earlier that they may have had Wi-Fi that worked at Home Depot. So we went up there, got some communications out to loved ones and an update on our status. And although their water pumps were sold out, we did find an AC drain line pump and a few rubber mats. And once we got home, I used a long extension cord to sort of MacGyver a pump out of the creek water into a makeshift shower. All right, so we did it. We have established a hillbilly bathtub out here using an HVAC drain pump.
John would be so proud of us.
That gas can we're going to fill with water for toilet water. That's how we live now.
Did you show her a makeshift ladder?
I did, right behind us. This is not us camping. This is just how we live now. Early Tuesday morning, I got up and attached the dog trailer to my bicycle and rode into town with our gas cans in it. In town, I found the first few gas station lines to be crazy long already, so I just kept going. Meanwhile, back at home, Angie fashioned a hose together to make the new creek shower work a little better, but she cut herself pretty badly in the process with a box knife, pretty much all the way to the bone on her shin. And I had no idea because we had no cell service and no signal. So, meanwhile, I waited for 2 hours in a gas line. I'm in between cars on my bike. And just as I got up to the pump and got inside to pay, they lost power. The whole area lost power again. So, no gas. But on the way home, I got so lucky because power started coming back on and one of the other gas stations had just dismissed their car line. So just like that, 5 minutes, I got in line, got enough gas to fill up the entire car. So I got back home, which was a chore with 10 gallons of gas and the bike trailer uphill on those mountain roads, but I was so happy. But once I saw Angie's leg, it was settled. We had to leave. I sealed up the fence on the back of the property and we headed for a friend's place in central North Carolina. He had already mapped out a specific route for us that was open based on the Department of Transportation. And although it went through all these sort of country roads and some sketchy areas with no cell phone service and detours around flooded and blocked roads, in the pitch dark, it was a bit of a scary drive, but we finally did make it to their house. And while we still have no idea when we might be able to go back home, we are so thankful to have made it out safe and to have made it out together. If you have loved ones in that area that you still can't get a hold of, try to keep the faith as best you can. I know it's easier said than done, but from being out there ourselves, we know there are so many areas where people are trapped. They can't get to the stores, their roads are out, and all communication is out. So it's very feasible that they just can't get a hold of anyone and that they're just waiting for rescue or waiting for floodwaters to go down so they can make their way into town. Our thoughts do go out to all of you and to all of those that are out there doing the hard work of rescuing people and starting to rebuild some of the services already.
Hi guys, we hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, we would love a review. So make sure to head over to your Apple Podcast app or whatever app you listen to your podcast on and give us a 5-star review. Also, give us a like and a follow on our social media. You can find that all under Fine and Danjee. And if you want to find out more about our guest or about us, head over to fineanddanjee.com.